What begins as an act of kindness becomes a war of secrets and ambition. When Marlon Duvall, a billionaire tech mogul with a reputation as cold as the marble floors of his Manhattan penthouse, hires Elena Cruz, a soft-spoken, college dropout with a mop and an undying will, to clean his glass palace, no one could have predicted what was to follow. Not even him. Elena, raised by her grandmother in a modest Queens apartment, is grateful for the job, her own room in the mansion, fine food, generous pay, and, most shocking of all, a man like Marlon who treats her with an unusual dignity. She swears to herself she'll do nothing but work hard, stay out of the way, and send every dime to her little brother still in school. But fate, in its twisted sense of humor, has other plans. A chance encounter in a shopping mall introduces Elena to Julian Blackthorn, a charming, dangerously intelligent rival billionaire with a silver tongue and a vendetta against Marlon. He sees something in Elena. Not just beauty or innocence, but opportunity. And he offers her a deal: find out what Marlon's hiding, and together they'll expose him, ruin him, and make Elena very, very rich. Elena hesitates. She owes Marlon her job, her comfort, her unexpected stability. But then she finds out what Marlon really does behind those soundproof walls. What starts as curiosity morphs into a deadly game of manipulation. Elena plays both sides, but as her heart begins to betray her, and the men's war escalates from corporate sabotage to personal destruction, she'll have to choose: loyalty or revenge, love or freedom. And in this glittering world of skyscrapers and champagne, of secrets and lies, no one leaves unburned. The mansion on East 65th Street was silent as a cathedral and twice as cold. Elena Cruz arrived with a duffel bag stuffed with 3 changes of clothes and a nervous smile that cracked with every step echoing through the marble foyer. "Miss Cruz," said the butler, Victor, gray-haired and precise. "You'll be staying in the East Wing. Breakfast is at 7. Mr. Duvall doesn't tolerate tardiness." He led her through the house like a ghost guiding a living girl through a crypt: endless hallways, glass walls, art that looked like it was born from nightmares and bank accounts. Elena clutched her bag tighter with every turn. What had she agreed to? But her room, God, the room. It had a bed she could drown in, sheets softer than anything she'd ever touched, and a view of the skyline that felt like living inside a dream. There was even a private bathroom. And food? Real food. Salmon with saffron risotto. Fresh-pressed juices. Not a can of instant noodles in sight. She scrubbed every surface of the mansion like her hands were on trial. The staff rarely spoke to her, except for Victor, who once whispered, "Avoid the West Wing. Especially after 9 p.m. She didn't ask why. Not yet. Marlon Duvall himself was a mystery. Elena saw him only in fragments at first: a silhouette on the stairs, a low voice murmuring in calls that sounded more like orders than conversations. He was younger than she expected, 40s, maybe, but with eyes that didn't blink enough and a smile that seemed earned, not given. The first time he spoke to her directly, it was over breakfast. Just the two of them. "You cleaned the piano room." "Yes, sir." "You left the Mozart score out." Page 74. Her heart stopped. I thought it was beautiful. I didn't mean to." "I always stop on page 74, he said calmly, sipping his black coffee. "Good eye." She didn't know what to say. He added, "You like music?" "I played. Once. Before everything got complicated." He gave her a look that made her feel seen and dissected at the same time. "Complication creates character," he said. "Keep playing." She didn't ask what he meant. She just nodded, and walked away feeling like something had shifted inside her. That night, she couldn't sleep. The silence of the mansion gnawed at her. Around midnight, she wandered. Past the art, the sculptures, the room with no label and no lock. The West Wing. Her hand was on the knob before her brain could stop her. Inside was dim, lit only by the city bleeding through the glass wall. A single desk sat in the center, cluttered with files, folders, and digital devices. She didn't mean to look. But she did. And what she saw, photos, names, financial records, surveillance stills, didn't belong to a business tycoon. They belonged to someone with control issues. Or worse, someone playing a different game altogether. There was one name that repeated. Julian Blackthorn. She backed out of the room just in time to hear footsteps down the hall. Fast. Heavy. Elena darted into a service stairwell and pressed her back to the cold wall, chest heaving. Who was Marlon Duvall really? She would find out sooner than she wanted. Sunday was the only day Elena was allowed out. Not because she asked for it, Marlon offered it, as if granting a prisoner time in the yard. You can go wherever you want, he said, not looking up from his espresso. Just be back by 6. Elena didn't argue. She wanted the air. The noise. The chaos of the city. Anything to remind her she was still alive. She headed to the Galleria Mall. The place was bloated with wealth, designer storefronts with mannequins that sneered at her jeans and sneakers. But she didn't care. She wandered. She breathed. Then she collided with him. Literally. She rounded a corner too fast and slammed into a man carrying a coffee, which spilled in a perfect arc across her chest and down his shirt. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't see. No, he said, laughing. That's my fault. I walk like I own the place. Old habits. He was tall. Too handsome in a charm is my superpower kind of way. Dark brown eyes that danced like they were in on a joke no one else got. It's fine, he added, offering her a napkin from a nearby table. You look like you just survived a car crash with a Starbucks truck, though. Elena laughed despite herself. That's accurate. I'm Julian, by the way. Elena. His eyebrows lifted, ever so slightly. Cruz? Something in her stomach flipped. Have we met? No. But I've heard of you. She took a step back, her fingers tightening around the napkin. From who? He smiled, slow and smooth. Let's just say I know people who know people. And those people told you about a cleaning lady? His smile faltered just a little. I never said you were just a cleaning lady. There was a moment. Long unspoken. Electric. Then he said, Can I buy you a coffee? You look like you need a do-over. Everything in her screamed no. But her lips said, Sure. They talked for 2 hours. About everything and nothing. Julian had that rare ability to make even silence feel like a conversation. Elena didn't tell him about the files. Or the room. Or the chill that sometimes ran down her spine when Marlon looked at her too long. But she did tell him about her brother. Tomas, she said softly. 17. Obsessed with astronomy. Wants to go to college, but, she shrugged. We can't afford stars right now. Julian nodded, his expression shifting. I had a little brother, too. Liam. He died in a fire when we were kids. The weight of those words dropped like a stone between them. I'm sorry, she whispered. Julian looked away, jaw tight. He was the best thing I ever had. And I lost him. Because I was 10 seconds too late. The pain in his voice wasn't performance. It was raw and worn, like a scar that still stung in the rain. In that moment, Elena didn't see the charm. She saw the grief. And it called to hers like an old friend. You carry it like armor, she said quietly. He looked at her, startled. What? The guilt. The pain. You wear it like a shield. Julian blinked, a little too fast. Then he smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're sharp, Elena Cruz." And just like that, she was on her feet. "I should go back to the palace?" Her blood went cold. "Excuse me? Don't look so shocked. You work for Marlon Duvall. It's no secret. But what he does, that's the secret. And I think you're smart enough to know it." Her heart pounded. "What do you want from me?" "I want to stop him," Julian said. "And I think you do too." Elena didn't sleep that night. Not after the mall. Not after Julian Blackthorn and his velvet voice had unraveled her like thread. She paced the halls of the mansion, her bare feet silent on the stone floors. Every shadow looked like it was hiding something now. Every click of a distant door, every hum of electricity in the walls, it all felt watched. By morning, her resolve had sharpened into steel. She had to know more. About Marlon. About what she'd stumbled into. And there was one place to start, the room in the West Wing. She waited until Victor took his usual afternoon break. Slipped inside. But this time, she didn't just glance. She dug. Laptop open. Password cracked, Marlon's mother's birthday, of all things. Child's play. What she found made her stomach lurch. Encrypted files labeled Orion Distribution. Photos of shipping containers. Cargo manifests with inconsistent weights. Offshore wire transfers routed through shell corporations. One PDF listed dozens of small business names under asset recovery. Half were already out of business. It wasn't a company. It was a laundering front. And in one folder marked Blackthorn, there were surveillance shots of Julian. One image stood out. A black SUV, parked in a warehouse. The timestamp matched a date Elena remembered from the news, a mysterious fire in Brooklyn that left 3 men dead. Supposed gang-related. No arrests. Case closed. The warehouse? Registered to Duvall Industries. Elena backed away from the screen like it might bite her. Her hands trembled. Her skin felt wrong. Cold. Marlon wasn't just playing dirty in business. He was playing criminal. And he knew Julian was onto him. That night, she walked into the dining room and found Marlon already seated, glass of scotch in hand. No dinner. Just silence and a stare. "You went into the West Wing," he said casually. Her spine stiffened. "You're clever, Elena." "I like clever. But there's a difference between curiosity and treason." She forced a calm breath. "What is Orion Distribution?" Marlon smirked. "That's none of your concern. It is if I'm caught in the middle of it." "You won't be caught," he said, swirling the ice in his glass. "Because you'll stay exactly where you are. Quiet. Useful. And if I don't?" His smile vanished. "Then I'll bury you so deep in lawsuits, in investigations, in fabricated evidence, you'll think hell is a tax office." Elena stood frozen. She'd seen powerful men before. But this? This was ice-cold malevolence wrapped in Tom Ford and patience. "Why me?" she asked finally. "Why let me in at all?" He got up slowly, walked to her, close enough to feel the heat of his words. "Because you reminded me of who I used to be. Hungry. Smart. Dangerous. And I wanted to see how long it would take before you betrayed me." He stepped back, smoothing his suit. "You didn't disappoint." Later that night, Elena stood at the balcony, wind tangling her hair, phone in hand. She opened Julian's message from earlier. "When you're ready to switch sides, meet me at the fountain in Central Park. Midnight. No questions." Her thumb hovered over reply. Then she looked down at the city and whispered, "Marlon Duvall, you're not the only one who knows how to play a game. The fountain in Central Park gurgled like it had secrets to spill. The air was thick with mist and anxiety. Elena stood under a broken lamppost, the glow casting half her face in shadow. Midnight had come and gone. Then, Julian appeared. No dramatic entrance. No limo. Just a man in a dark coat with too many secrets behind his eyes. "You came," he said. "You knew I would." They didn't speak for a while. There was too much between them, doubt, desire, and the kind of trust that only blooms in the middle of betrayal. "I found files," Elena whispered. "Money laundering. Shell companies. A warehouse fire that wasn't an accident. Marlon's not just corrupt, he's lethal." Julian's face darkened. "I know. He's killed deals, careers, and people. My brother was on his payroll once. Saw too much. Died in a car accident 6 months later. No investigation. No justice." Elena looked away. "He's watching me. Every move." "You're not alone anymore," Julian said. "We take him down together." She didn't answer. Not yet. The next morning, she tried to act normal. Coffee. Cleaning. Polite smiles. But she felt like she was living with a lion in a silk robe. She didn't have to wait long. That evening, Marlon summoned her to the conservatory, a glass box filled with orchids that smelled too sweet, like something hiding rot. "Elena," he said, hands clasped behind his back. "Sit." She did. "You're not very good at lying." She froze. He walked slowly around her, a panther circling prey. Central Park. Midnight. "You think I don't have eyes there?" Elena's heart stopped. "I don't care who you trust, Elena. But I need you to understand what's at stake." He snapped his fingers. Victor entered with a small, black folder. He laid it on the table in front of her, then disappeared. Elena opened it, and the world dropped out from beneath her. Photos. Her brother, Tomas. Leaving school. At the corner store. Laughing with friends. Unaware a camera followed his every step. "You bastard," she hissed, rising from her chair. Marlon didn't flinch. "This is business. You go rogue, he disappears. Maybe an overdose. Maybe a robbery gone wrong. I'll cry at the funeral if that helps." Her fists clenched. "He's just a kid." "Exactly," Marlon said. "So don't make me teach him how cruel life can be." He walked to the door, calm as ever. "You have talent, Elena. I admire it. Don't waste it trying to be a hero. Heroes die." She sat there, trembling, every breath a battle between fury and fear. When she finally left the room, she didn't go to her private suite. She went straight to the maid's utility closet, locked the door, and collapsed to the floor. For 10 minutes, she cried without sound. Then she wiped her tears, pulled out her burner phone, and sent a single message to Julian. "He threatened my brother. It's war." She waited until 3:17 a.m. She had memorized the guard shifts, the camera blind spots, even which floorboards creaked under pressure. The security system was elite, but Marlon never expected a maid to hack the codes he thought only his CTO knew. When Elena slipped out of the mansion's side exit, the city air hit her like absolution. No bag. No ID. Just a burner phone in her pocket, and revenge blooming like wildfire in her chest. She didn't even look back. Julian opened his apartment door in a pair of sweats and disbelief. "Elena?" She practically collapsed into him. "He threatened Tomas," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Had him followed. Said he'd make him disappear if I stepped out of line." Julian's eyes darkened. "We end this. No, she said, pulling away. We burn him down. The apartment was nothing like Marlon's mansion. It was lived in, warm, messy in the way real people are. But the coffee was strong, and for the first time in weeks, Elena felt safe enough to breathe. They spent the entire next day building the bones of their plan. Julian's old contacts in finance. Elena's knowledge of Marlon's private routines, servers, passwords. Every file she'd seen, every whisper in the hallway, every locked drawer she'd accidentally opened, they mapped it out like a heist. He launders through Orion Distribution, Elena explained. But the money moves through a dummy firm registered under a dead woman's name. I can leak that to a journalist I trust, Julian said. Anonymous tip. But it won't stick unless we hit him hard in public. Elena nodded. He has offshore accounts. I saw 2 in the Cayman Islands and 1 in Latvia. Julian grinned. Oh, this is getting good. Then she pulled out the flash drive she had hidden in her boot before escaping. I copied everything. Every transaction, every bribe. Including one to a city councilman. It's time Marlon gets exposed. Julian stared at her, astonished. You're not just brave. You're lethal. I had no choice, she said. He made me into this. He placed a hand gently on hers. Then let's make him regret it. Later, as the city glittered like broken promises outside the window, they lay side by side, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. You're not afraid? Julian asked softly. I'm terrified, Elena admitted. But I'm more afraid of going back. He was quiet for a while, then whispered, he'll come for you. She looked over at him, her eyes steely. Let him. The plan was set. The files were backed up in 5 different clouds. The journalist had the tip. The fuse had been lit. But Elena couldn't stop thinking about her brother. Tomas. 17. Smart. Fierce. With a heart too big for the streets of Queens. He didn't know the danger he was in. Not really. She had kept him in the dark, shielded him from the monster in Marlon's mansion. But now? Now the monster had her brother's name on a list. She couldn't protect him from a distance anymore. Julian drove her back to Queens. A nondescript building with graffiti-covered bricks and a broken buzzer. Elena knocked on apartment 4B, her breath caught in her throat. Tomas opened the door in a hoodie and headphones, blinking in surprise. Elena, he said, stepping back. What the hell, where have you been? I thought. I know, she said, pulling him into a hug so tight it hurt. I know. I'm sorry. After the tears. After the microwave pizza and cold soda. She told him everything. At first, he laughed. You're joking. A billionaire? Crime? You cleaning his floors? But her eyes didn't flinch. You're serious. I am. And he's dangerous, Tomas. He's got files on you. Said if I step out of line. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Tomas sat back slowly, the fire building behind his eyes. You think I'm gonna let that happen? Please, she begged. Don't do anything stupid. Just lay low. Let Julian and I handle it. He stared at her for a long time, then smiled, one of those crooked, too confident smiles she hadn't seen since they were kids sneaking out for midnight churros. Sis. You forgot who taught you to pick locks. Over the next few days, Tomas became the ghost in the machine. He knew how to disappear, grew up dodging NYPD and eviction notices. He was the perfect runner, the perfect bait, and the perfect eyes inside the chaos they were about to unleash. He snuck into Marlon's downtown data center posing as a food delivery kid. Plugged in a keylogger. He intercepted emails between Marlon's CFO and a corrupt city official. He even tracked one of Marlon's private cars to a warehouse full of fake IDs and burner phones. And he loved it. "Vengeance is addictive," he texted Elena one night. "You should have warned me. But vengeance has a price." Because Marlon Duvall was bleeding, financially, publicly, and he knew exactly who was cutting the veins. One night, Tomas didn't respond. Elena called. No answer. Julian called his contacts. Nothing. They waited. Then the message came. A single photo, texted to Elena's burner phone. Tomas. Tied to a chair. Blood on his shirt. And the message below. "Checkmate, sweetheart. Come alone." Elena stood in front of the warehouse at Pier 19, wind slapping her hair against her face, heart pounding like war drums. She had told Julian to stay away. Told the journalist to hold the story. Told the police nothing. This was personal now. The message said come alone. So she did. Inside, the place smelled of rust and gasoline. Chains hung from ceiling beams. Shadows dripped from every corner. And in the middle, Tomas. Bloodied but alive. His eyes snapped open the second he saw her. "No," he croaked. "Why did you come?" Then the lights flickered on. And Marlon Duvall stepped out of the dark. He looked immaculate, as always. Custom suit. Cufflinks. Not a wrinkle in sight. Except for the look in his eyes, wild, electric, like a man holding a match over a house soaked in kerosene. "Touching," he said. "Family reunion. Pity it's also a funeral." Elena didn't move. "Let him go." "Oh, sweetheart," Marlon smiled coldly. "You're not in a position to make demands." He circled her, slow and deliberate. "You could have lived like a queen. You had it all. A private room, 5-star food, my protection. And you threw it away, for what? Julian? That failed heir with a bleeding heart and a martyr complex?" Elena stared him down. "I threw it away because I saw what you really were." Marlon's smile vanished. "I am what the world made me," he said darkly. "I just decided to be better at it than everyone else." He pulled a gun from his coat. Not a threat. A promise. "Elena Cruz. One last warning. You give me the flash drive. You disappear. And your brother walks out. Or I paint this floor with both of you." Her fingers twitched. "You think I came here without a plan?" He raised an eyebrow. Outside, sirens. Dozens of them. SWAT vans. Journalists. Drones buzzing like angry bees. Marlon blinked. "What the hell?" Elena smiled. "You're not the only one with eyes everywhere." Julian's voice echoed from a rooftop speaker. "Marlon Duvall, step away from the hostages. The entire building is surrounded." Marlon turned, gun half raised. And Tomas, still tied to the chair, kicked it backward into Marlon's legs. Bang! A single shot fired. Chaos. Elena lunged. The gun clattered across the concrete. SWAT burst through the doors, shouting. When the dust settled, Marlon was on the ground, blood spilling from a bullet wound in his side, but alive. Tomas groaned, his hands still bound. Elena untied him with shaking fingers, whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He laughed, delirious. Best sister ever. 6 weeks later. Marlon Duvall was behind bars. Orion Distribution had been seized. His empire was ashes. Elena stood on the rooftop of Julian's apartment, watching the skyline bleed gold into dusk. "You could have disappeared," Julian said softly beside her. After everything. I didn't want to run, she said. I wanted to finish the story. He looked at her. And now? She smiled, just a little. I'm not the cleaning lady anymore.